Alright, in this video I just want to do a quick introduction to my Damen 2111, which is going to be my entry for the Skunkworks Tugboat Challenge. This is a real tugboat from Damen. This is a 1-to-1 scale representation of it. Of course, I've made some changes just based on Stormworks and some of the quirks with that. So we'll do a quick exterior look at it while we're out here. We'll start her up and we'll go out and we'll actually play with my fuel barge over there. Fuel barge has greater than 600,000 liters of diesel in it, so that should be pretty good for testing with. Alright, so looking on the port side here, we have hand-drawn Damen logo, life ring. We have some handrails for walking in rough weather. We have a lifeboat on either side. We have our stacks. We have the actual air intakes and stacks, or exhaust ports. We have working articulable firefighting nozzles. We have our large bollards for rope handling. Of course, unfortunately, the ropes don't have physics, so they don't interact. That would be great if the devs could have that, add that, but they've said they're not going to. We have fully working and accurate navigation mast with working radar and LiDAR. We have a spotlight that will turn in a 180-degree arc for forward looking. So let's go ahead and jump on. We also have, this would be the hatch if you need to load something in the engine compartment that currently does not work. I don't know if I'm going to make that work or not. We have a fire alarm speaker there. Keeps me to the fire alarm. We'll go through all the compartments later. So, like with a lot of my builds, I try to make them as realistic as possible. So you can't just jump right in the bridge and start it up. You have to go down to the engine room or down to the control room. So let's go down. We'll open up this port door, and inside this port door we have our main staircase. So we'll go ahead and we'll head down. We'll open this door here into our main hallway. Alright, from our main hallway, we'll head to the stern. And now we're in our circuit breaker room. So our circuit breakers are all set up. So if we go and look at our circuit breakers real quick, this is the Essentials panel. So we have panel A, Master Power. This here, which I will color code, this controls the whole panel. So this powers our whole panel. Each one of these circuit breakers that are down, those are connected to something. So we have one spare here in case I need to put something on there. But we have bridge, we have stability systems, port, harbor, and starboard diesels. We have our Azipods, instruments, cooling, port and starboard, the mast, winch, horn, refueling panel, fire systems, bilge. The panel B is your non-essentials, so you could shut this off again with the master power. You have things like lighting. We have some things that simulated like washer dryer. The electricity is actually connected, but they don't do anything, of course. Def, hydraulics, compressor, fuel oil separators, toolbox has electrical drawers, these are all spares down here. So we can close that. So once you come down here, the only thing you really need to do, we'll go through some of this too. These are all your relays. So these are actual functional relays that connect the systems of the ship. This is nothing at the moment. So we'll open up this. This is your main control panel. So we're going to go ahead and we'll open our key button. We're going to turn on both batteries, which will power that. You can choose one battery if you want, but I like doing both batteries. This allows you to recharge one battery or the other, or both. I just select both of them. And then master power, you'll see your power comes on. So quickly going through this, we have visual representation of our batteries in percentage. So they're, as you can see, 99% and decreasing. We have our deltas, which are charge-discharge gauges. So as you see, they're a negative number, which means we're losing electricity. Underneath this, we have a DEF system. I haven't finished working on the DEF system yet, but essentially, DEF burns at 1 liter for every 50 liters of diesel. That's jet fuel in this case. So you would need, the craft will spawn with DEF already in the tanks, and you'll just need to you need to refill it if it gets low, but that's enough def. It will run most of this fuel oil, and then you'll get a light if there's low def. Going to the center section here, we have a harbor generator, generator temp, generator output if the generator is on. The harbor generator will automatically come on below 80% battery. If you're up and running and you're using the diesels have generators on each diesel, so so the harbor generator shouldn't come on. But if you're sitting, say at port with all the lights on, that will automatically come on, charge the batteries, and shut off. You have low fuel light will come on if you have low fuel, and here is your fuel oil in liters. We have our starboard RPS and port RPS. We have our port temp, starboard temp. We have our starboard and port generators. All right, so this panel's all set, so let's close it up and we'll head back up. So make it a little bit easier to find your way around. There's an arrow that shows where the staircase is to go to exit. So let's go all the way up to the bridge. All right, I'm going to climb up to the bridge. So we're in our bridge now. You'll notice the lights are automatic. They're very bright. So if you want to dim lights, you could do dimmers or turn them off here. So the first thing we're going to do is when we come to this control unit here, we're going to go to the electrical section. So this whole section here is electrical. So we have master power, generator output, battery delta, and battery. So let's go ahead and turn on our master power. Next thing we want to do is we want to set up our lights. So if we go over here, this is the mast controls. So we have a number, we have an up-down button, and we have a tilt mast. So the tilt mast is for if you need to go under bridges. You can tilt the mast down so that you're not as tall. Real ships have this, so you can get under bridges. So if we click up once, we get a visual representation of our lighting. So we have one white light on, so that means we're at anchor. So 1 is anchor, 2 is navigation. So we have a top light, a stern light, and then we have our two navigation lights. All right, so let's jump in our seat and we'll just quickly look at that. So as you can see, we have our top white light, we have our red on our port, green on our starboard, and we have our white stern light. All right, so I need to delete that. That's still sitting there from some testing. All right, so now that we're in our cockpit, I'll quickly just go through this, and then I will we'll get underway and we can do a tour, and we can do some handling with the fuel barge. All right, so I'll link the creator of these screens when I release. I like using their screens for a lot of my stuff. They're very versatile. So if we look at our left monitor page here, it starts in radar mode. So if we hit power, if we select power, power comes on. The yellow line is our radar. The white lines are our LiDAR. We can change the ranges here. We can change the sweep angle like that. We can lock the position and we can move the position of the radar. We can reset it. If we press on cam, that goes to our cameras. So this is currently on our spotlight camera. So if we go out and look, as you can see, we have a camera up there with a spotlight on it. Let me see if I connected the spotlight. I may not have. No, I still need to connect that, but that would be where your spotlight is. And then you can use the controls in here. So as you can see, we can pan port and starboard. We can go up and down. As you see, it doesn't look like there's much up and down, but if you were to zoom, that gives you a really wide field of view because of the zoom. All right, so go ahead and zoom back out. N is for night vision, and then R resets the position to the center. We have 2 arrows here. If we click our next arrow, we have our port firefighting gear. So as you can see, we can go to the right, to the left. The nozzle moves independently of the camera. That makes it so that you're not, you would be looking way up and the water will arc. The plus and the minus are, I might change these. Currently they do the nozzle. I think I'm going to lock the nozzle and make that your water pressure. So I'm going to change that. But if you click the N, which would have been night vision for the camera, that's going to turn on your water. You can barely see it. Let me just scroll down, and you can see we're shooting water out. And as you can see, we're shooting water out there. So this is our firefighting equipment. It's automatically set so that it won't, won't hit anything. I have limiters on that, so you can go to more to port. You can go to starboard quite a bit and cross that. As you can hear, our harbor generator just automatically started. That's going to run up, and that's going to recharge our batteries. That's because we've been sitting here with the lights on, and plus using this uses up a lot of electricity. So we're going to click N, that's going to shut off our water. As you can see, water goes off. I'm going to actually look over here, and you can see where our generator's on and outputting current to bring our battery up. As you can see, we're regaining battery. We went under 80%. That caused our harbor generator to automatically come on. If we go to camera 3, this is our starboard firefighting nozzle. As you can see, I need to just invert that. So I'll put that on my to-do list. Same controls as the other one. We'll just reset that. And you can go back around, you're back at 1. That's your spot camera. We can click map, so we can also have map on this side, but I like to keep it on radar. Alright, so I'm actually going to shut the radar off right now. And we'll go through the rest of this. So we have 2 dials here. I need to label these. These are your Azipod angles. So presently what happens is the Azipods start in the synced mode. As you can see, you can desync the Azipod. So what this does is this allows you to more easily control it and operate it like a stand tug. So if we notice our 2 needles are pointing right to stern, that means our Azipods are straight. So if we look to the back, as you can see, we have 2 straight Azipods. If we were to, so when they're synced, everything in a synced mode operates off the port system. So currently we're synced, so we're going to use these port controls. And as you can see, both Azipods are angling this way, so that would be going left. And as you can see, they are angled left. That will turn us left. We can go right, same thing. Underneath here, we have center Azipod. If I click that, as you see, it centers them up to the middle. So this is good for if you have a really extreme angle here. That there is about 45 degrees, and you want to go straight again, you can just click that. It will center them right up. All right, this is going to be your thrust. So currently our thrust is not synced. So if we go to our center panel here, this is our thrust. So we have 0. 0 gives a 0 signal. So right now, as you can see, we have red lines. That means the engines aren't on either, but we have a red line that shows that our thrust is zeroed. We're not making any thrust. So if we click to 0, that would automatically put us at 0. So if we're going ahead, you'll see us when we start interacting with the barge. That becomes useful. And then we have synced. So what synced allows us to do is, again, so let's desync it again. So let's go into a standard position here. So so the engines aren't on. So if I were to go thrust up, I'm going to go ahead and thrust up. As you can see, our port engine is showing forwards, 4 green bars. All right, now let's do our starboard. As you can see, I can push down our starboard. Now we're in reverse, 3 yellow bars. So as you can see, we're not synced. If I sync them, as you can see, whatever the port does, the starboard will do. So this is good so that, if you were trying to travel straight ahead, you wouldn't want to have to click up this a bunch and click up this a bunch and go back and forth. But you may want to do, say, a asymmetrical thrust turn or something. So you want to sync up your thrust for ease of use so that they're both there. Now, again, if I click 0, it gives them a 0 signal. So again, if you want to stop, all you have to do is click 0. So that's very handy. So we'll leave it in the synced mode. Again, here are your starboard controls. If we go over here, we have our center starboard Azipods. So they're synced right now. So if we desync them, as you can see, I can leave my port Azipod straight back, and I can move my starboard Azipod independently. I can move my port Azipod independently. If I desync them, you'll notice, watch the starboard jumps. Or if I sync them up again, you'll notice my starboard jumps right to where the port is. So as you can see, now they're synced. All right, and then if I click the center, as I said, that will center. If I desync them and my starboard is off, I can click center, and that will center that. So if I want to do independent Azipod control, I can desync them and then manually control them. So we're going to go ahead and leave that in the sync mode. So we'll start up our diesels. So back here we have our essentially our engine control section. So these are start-stop buttons. So all you have to do is click it on. You can hear that port diesel starting. It's started. It will automatically restart if it stalls. As you can see, we have RPM. It's at idle RPM, and we have our temperature. Go ahead and we'll start the starboard. You can hear that starting up. All right, that's up and running, and we have our temperature. Last thing on this panel is our heading hold. Is part of our autopilot system. So if you look up ahead of us, above us, we have a compass. I'll also link who created that in the release. So say we wanted to maintain a 190 heading, we could enter 190 in here, and it will automatically take control of the Azipods, and it will navigate us by heading hold. So this is actually very useful. Because of the physics in Stormworks, if you have the cable coming out and say the barge is at a 45-degree angle, it would actually turn the ship a little bit. So you would have to consistently move your Azipods to keep going straight. It would keep trying to turn you. And so by using heading hold, that takes some of the work off of you. If we read it, it says heading hold, enter 0 to disable. So I like doing this with my heading holds where if you put a 0 in there, it actually shuts the system off. So the heading hold takes precedence over everything. So if you had the autopilot on for the navigational autopilot, and then you put in a number greater than 0, it's going to go off of the heading hold. So if you want to use other systems, if you want to manually control it, or you want to use your autopilot, your navigational autopilot, all you do is enter a 0. As long as there's a 0 in there, the heading hold is off. All right. Go through the electrical systems, master power. The generator went off. As you can hear, the harbor gen stopped. Our diesels are up and running, but there's no clutch at the moment. Battery delta I have to connect, and then our battery percentages. You see, once we get below 80, that harbor gen will kick on again. All right, so let's go over to our port panel. We have our speed and knots, wind direction, and wind speed. We have our winch in and out. So this winch is actually, this design, the winch is in the center housing, and there's a door that goes out to the stern, there's a door that goes out to the port. So you actually use one winch for both forward and rearward operations. So winch in and winch out. You have your length. Again, we have our center Azipod here. These are your light controls here. So if we look, we have these bright white lights going here. We can dim them. We can brighten them. And then we can change them over to red with another click. We can also dim and brighten the red lights, as you can see. And then one more click is off. So it's daylight, so we'll go with off. So depth under keel. So as I was talking about before, as you can see, we have these really long skegs. So we have depth under keel. That actually accounts for the length of the skeg. So that's how much depth is under the skegs. Here we have bow spots. As you can see, our spots are on. We have stern spots. We have side spotlights that are on port and starboard. And then we have our deck lights. So if we press it once, as you can see, our deck lights come on white. If we press it again, our deck lights switch to red. And then if we press it one more time, our deck lights will go off. All right, we have one more set of controls. We have one above us as well. I actually need to fix this. I can't reach it, which I just noticed. So we have the fire alarm, which is kind of obnoxious, and I have to connect the power to. I just put this in, so I just need to flip it around so that it's right here so I can control it. But there's the horn, the foghorn, and the fire alarm button there. Last set of controls on the control console is our chair left and right. So if I hold that, as you can see, it will rotate me. This theoretically can go 360 degrees, but once we hit back to straight, it won't go any further. So there's two ways you can fix this. One is, or fix this. There's two ways you can get back to center. Is you can rotate it right all the way around, or you can press your center chair, and that will center the chair. All right, and I think we went over the spot, the camera spot. I still need to connect it, but that will control camera spot there. So that will turn that light on. All right, so we can move our chair, which lets us, you'll notice when we work the barge that being able to move our chair is very convenient for towing and connection operations. All right, so our engines are up and running, so let's go to the barge here. So there's a harbor gen. As you can see, our battery is below 80, so that kicked on. Once we get moving with our diesels here, the generators there will produce enough electricity, and it will actually cause the harbor gen to shut off. So our Azipods are already synced by default. If you need to sync them, that'll be that button. I just need to color it as well. A blue sync will sync our thrust. So let's start thrusting forward. So we're just going to increase. As you notice, Initially, it takes a little bit of time to get going. That's set up by design so that the clutches can auto-clutch. So it takes us a little while to go from red to the first green bar. That's normal. Essentially, what these throttles are doing is they're setting a RPS on the engine. So max RPS on the engine, I think, set to like 6.7. The clutches will not engage till 3.5, just so you don't stall out the engines. And so when you're going from red to the first green bar, it will take a little while, but after that, as you can see, it's very responsive. That's all by design, so that it takes you a little bit to get going, so that the clutches can auto-clutch. So let's go full throttle here. You see the engines are very responsive. Max speed is 13 knots. The real ship has a max speed of about 10.7 knots. I usually try to overshoot by 30% because everybody wants speed in Stormworks, even in ships. So I overshot that by about 30%. So let's slow down. We'll come in at about 8 knots, something like that. All right, so we're going to go to the bow of this. I'll actually do a little bit of pushing. We'll turn this around. So let's move our Azipods to the right here. As you can see, we turn right. So you don't need much Azipod to be very responsive. It's not like a rudder where you'd want to go like 45 degrees. The whole engine's moving, or the whole prop is moving, so you don't need that much. All right, and so let's, so again, if I want to center them up, I can click my center. Let's slow down a little bit more. And this is very responsive, so you can just tap it and get slowed down pretty well here. As you can see, I'm going 2 knots now. So I can get nice and slow. I'm going 1 knot now. So you can see, just with some gentle taps, we can get nice and slow. So this barge has, like I said, 600,000 liters of diesel in it. So this is very heavy. And as you can see how much it's sitting in the water, it almost comes all the way out of the water when it doesn't have any fuel in there. Normally it holds crude oil. All right, so we're just coming in slow. I can tap it up a little bit and get some more speed. We're up to 2 knots now. I'm going to actually slow back down a little bit for contact. And you can see we're pressing it. So let's just thrust up a little bit here. And we'll start pushing. All right, we'll follow it with the Azipods. Start turning right, as you can see. Now we kind of have it figured out where we want our Azipods. And as you can see, I can rotate this barge nicely using my tug. All right, so let's point it out to sea. And I'm going to zero my engines. All right, so that zero, like I said, is very helpful to just be able to, stop what we're doing. I also centered the Azipods, so let's reverse, and we'll go ahead and we'll connect. All right, so the reverse is set up. It's not too fast. It will automatically work the stability system so that it's stable in reverse as well. Stability system it wasn't that hard, but it took a little bit of work in this type of tug just because you have moving control surfaces, and Stormworks didn't really like that. So we'll center our Azipods, we'll zero it, and then we'll push it forward. So that zero is really helpful because we didn't have to push on the thrust for a while to get us from reverse to forwards. All I had to do was zero it. That cut down some of the time. All right, so now I'm going to rotate my chair, and I'll actually look out to the stern. All right, so now we're going to zero up again. All right, so as you can imagine, we're looking backwards here. So our Azipods, we're going to turn them opposite to where we were when we were going forward. So we're going to go into reverse. All right, and now, so we want to go left. We're actually going to push right, as you can see. So if we're facing rearwards, we want to move our Azipods opposite to where we would be if we were going forwards. So we'll do a little bit more to the right. And as you can see, this is really nice and convenient, the ability to sit backwards. Also, if we want to push sideways, because we can do side strafing. We can't do side strafing as well as I would like, just because I can't rotate those Azipods 360 degrees. So you can see it's very maneuverable. I'm going to go ahead and zero it and let it just kind of coast in. All right, so we've lined the notch up with, we have a couple of rope anchors. We use the high rope anchor. And I'll go ahead and I'll jump out of my seat here. All right, so we have a couple ways we can go down. We'll go a different way than we had before, just because, we'll actually go this way. just to see more of the ship. So we have a balcony on this side. As you can see, we can walk around the front of the balcony. We can go head to the stern and look over that. We have our life boats. Staircase that goes down to the bow of the ship. Let's go down to the stern. We haven't been in this door yet, so let's go in this door. This is our main winch room. Just to get you oriented, this is our main staircase on this side. So here's our main winch. As I said, the winch can go forwards and aft through these two doors. I'll quickly do a fast tour of here. We have a bathroom here. We have our winch. That's a simulated hydraulic. The hydraulic is this reddish-brown color. We have some ropes and torches. We have our tool chest here with more equipment. Let's go to the winch controls, which are right here. We're going to open up our stern door. All right, we have hydraulic pressure, which is simulated, hydraulic fluid, which is an actual tank, just reading that tank, cable length, winch in, winch out, and that will show if the winch is active. So let's go ahead and we'll grab our rope. Actually, I had one on me, so that's why I did that. So let's drop that. So this is what it's going to look like when you grab it. Let's go ahead and we'll look out the back here, and we'll attach it to this ring there. If I wanted to put some winch out, as you can see, I can press that, and then the winch active light will go on. So let's go out this door, and let's go to grab our rope. You can walk through the doors. Unfortunately, like I said, Stormworks doesn't have collisions with the rope. That would be, in real life, what happens is it would come out this door, it would go under here, and then if you were doing a big turn, it would actually wrap around here, so you could pull it something sideways, but of course, we don't have interactable ropes in Stormworks, unfortunately. So let's go on up. Our winch, we have winch controls on our console here, as we remember here. So I'm going to start to go forwards. And we'll just get one green bar, and then I'm going to start going winch out. And as you see, we'll let out some winch as we start to go forwards here. So I'm going to let out about 100 meters of winch. And so I kind of set this up so that the speed of the winch kind of mimics the, how fast we'd be pulling on it. So it's, it's not going way underwater. All right, so we'll let out about 100 meters of cable, and then we'll get underway. I'll put on the autopilot, show you how to use the autopilot, and then we can do a tour of the rest of the ship. All right, so we're probably getting close. Yep, we're at 76 meters of cable. And then 100, I'll just stop it, and I'll put my seat forwards. All right, so now we're towing. Let's just center the seat. This can be a little jarring as it spins you a little bit on the fast side. Go ahead and we'll go full thrust here. All right, so our max speed on the real Damen is 10 knots, as I said. We can haul this barge at about 8 knots. Like I said, that's 600,000 liters of diesel that's in there. And as you can see with our stability system, we're not tilting very much. We tilt even less if I put it on that lower shackle for the barge. But as you can see, even with that much weight, full thrust, we're not pitching very much. All right, so this is perfect. As you see how the barge is pulling us to the left, and we have to try to correct it with Azipod. All right, so that can get obnoxious. So what I recommend is use your autopilot. This would really happen, but in real life. So let me just try to straighten this out here, and let me put in 270. So 270, enter, and now as you can see, the heading hold is automatically putting us at 270. So I entered in 270, which is a westerly heading. So now I don't have to deal with the Azipods anymore. As you noticed, if we watch them, see how they're constantly moving. So that's kind of a physics thing with Stormworks. It would happen in real life, but because of, a real tugboat actually has a lot of mass, where in Stormworks, they don't weigh very much. You would manually, as you saw me trying to chase it with the Azipods, once it starts getting you turned sideways, it's going to turn you really sharply. So I like to always use either the navigational autopilot or the heading hold when I'm towing, especially a heavy load with this. So as you can see, the PIDs have got us now dead on 270. So we're using heading hold there. We're doing a solid 8 knots, which again, that's, you know, that's a very realistic speed. The max speed on the real one is 10 knots. We're hauling pretty much, you know, one of the largest masses you'll be hauling in game. You know, that's a lot of weight. That's, you know, like I said, 600,000 liters of diesel, and I forget I think that weighs 50,000 weight units just by itself. So it's a considerable weight. So, all right, we're underway. We're in heading hold mode. So let's start playing with the autopilot, and then I can show you the rest of the ship. So if we click R, R centers us on ourselves essentially. The red line here is our trend line where we're actually headed. So if we were to zoom out here, you would see that's where we're headed. This is our distance rings here, 5 and 10. I'm not sure if it's knots or nautical miles or kilometers. So I didn't want to add in a regular waypoint system where you have to consult the map, so you use this map. So let's just make a quick course. Let's. So what you do is you want to just I'll just press E, and you'll move your cursor here. This is how you actually put waypoints. So we're going to move our cursor. This is where I want my first waypoint. You can zoom in if you wanted to look at something, make sure you're not going to hit an island. Then you want to go up to your top panel here, and you want to hit this plus. That made a waypoint. So if we zoom out and move to our next desired waypoint, which will make it right, I'll make it down here, we'll come back. We'll make it right there. We add plus again. You have 2. So as you can see, that counter showed 1 before. We added another waypoint that shows 2. Let's turn down here. We'll add another one. That'll be 3. We'll come back up around here. We'll add another one. That'll be 4. And then we'll come right into here. We'll zoom in and check it. Make sure there's no obstacles. And we'll put ourselves nice and close to the dock. We probably won't make it all the way there in this video, but we'll add another one. There's 5 waypoints. All right, so we have 5 waypoints. All right, so now we're going to click R. That just resets our view. And as we can zoom out, and as you can see, we have a nice course set in there. All right, and it shows us 5 waypoints, 2.5 kilometers to the first waypoint. All right, next thing we want to do is where it says off, we want to click that, and you see the A came on. So as you notice, we're doing nothing, and that's because we're still in heading hold mode. So heading hold takes precedence over everything. So let's click that, and let's put in a 0. 0 shuts off heading hold. So as soon as I click 0, as you can see, the Azipod's turned, and it's going to turn us towards our first waypoint. As you see, our trend line moved towards that waypoint. All right, and you see it's moving back, so it's controlling us to go towards our first waypoint. So as you can see, this red line should line up with our first waypoint, and as you can see, it has. All right, so now the autopilot is engaged. So as long as this autopilot light's on and you have a 0 in your heading hold, your autopilot is on. All right, so now that the autopilot's on, it will automatically shut our thrust off once we hit that last waypoint. So we can, you know, we're not going to go all the way there anyways, but we can get out of our seat and let that just work. So like I was saying before, I still have to connect this, but that's horn and fire alarm. I just need to move that as well, so I'll make a note of that. All right, so let's go tour the rest of the ship. So let's go back down. We'll go down our main staircase here. This is our winch room again. We went through the winch room. Go ahead and we'll go downstairs and we'll go through the rest of the rooms. So we're back in our main hallway here. And let's go into the engine room. So we'll go back into our breaker room. So we're in our breaker room. These are simulated air vents from our HVAC system. Again, like I said, that still needs to be filled out. And we'll go back into our engine room. So we're in our engine room. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll go to this door to the port side. We have a simulated washer dryer. I still need some painting to do here. Washer dryer there. It's not the best representation of it, but I just threw something in there. This is our simulated HVAC system. Has a big HVAC pipe. We have torches and firefighting clothing there. Put some more tools in there as need be. All right, so we have a simulated fuel. We have simulated fuel filter and water separator, fuel oil separator system there. There's our HVAC coming across the ceiling. This is our active firefighting system. So in the real ship, there's a PTO off the front of the main diesels. that will actuate the firefighting equipment. So we've kind of simulated that, but we have an electric motor running this. We have some impeller pumps. They go up and they feed the port firefighting system. And then on the starboard side, we have the starboard diesel running the starboard firefighting system. We have our ballast pump here. This pumps, I think if you look, I'm trying to see where it is. I need to add it for this room, but if you look along the floors here, it's behind this door. You'll see these fluid ports and meters. That's part of your auto ballast. So if any of these rooms flood, they'll automatically pump out. This is our simulated hydraulic system. So we have a hydraulic tank. That's actually what the hydraulic gauge on the winch is reading, is this tank. So kind of simulated this using real photos of real hydraulic systems, and those hydraulic systems go up and around the ship. Again, fuel filter and fuel water separator for the starboard diesel, and we have our batteries on either side. Here's our DEF system. Again, I'm still working on the DEF system, trying to get it to work properly. So essentially what it's going to do is it's going to take the 31,000 liters of fuel. It's going to, for every 50 liters of diesel, it's going to expel 1 liter of jet fuel to simulate you burning DEF, and then you would have to fill that DEF back up. We have our simulated compressor system, so that would be for your pneumatic systems. Simulated turbos for our diesels. That's simulated DEF system. We have, these are going to our rear fuel tank. This is a door for the, I think I need to paint that. This is a door for our, I think actually that's the paint that I wanted. This is that door that we saw on the rear deck. So if you needed to crane down some parts or take parts out, you would use this hatch here. Go ahead and go up our staircase here. This is that harbor generator we were talking about that that keeps you powered when you're either stationary or your diesels are not producing enough electricity. So these are your simulated Azipod control units here. So you would have a shaft go into them, and then they would control the Azipods. From the engines, we have a PTO and a clutch, and that works your generator. So as you can see, our generator is jumping around because we have PIDs auto clutching our generators as need be to maintain our electrical needs. We have simulated turbo exhaust there going out to exhaust systems. Alright, so that's pretty much our engine room here. Let's go on out. Alright, so we're back in our breaker room. And we'll go back in our main hallway. So our first door here is going to be our toilet. This is going to be our shower. Still some detailing to be done in there. We have one of our crew rooms here. So we have desk, bed, some storage, and HVAC. Most of this is auto lights, trying to keep the performance nice. So we'll go in. Here's another crew room, simulated closet, some shelving, desk again, more HVAC. This is our last crew room. So we have 3 total crew rooms: closet, shelving, drawers and shelving, desk. We're in our kitchen. So here's again, this is part of our bilge system. You'll see these all around this main floor, so they'll auto pump out if we get water in this area. So we have a table for eating, some seats, sink, cabinetry, more HVAC. Come into our galley. So we have our fridge, pump outs for our bilge system, stove, dishwasher, some containers, pots and pans, microwave, sink. There's a block I need to fix, and more HVAC. So this is set up pretty much how the real ship is. You know, I had to make some changes just because, you know, the real ship, it has 45-degree doors. Couldn't do that in Stormworks. You know, you could, but it'd be too much effort for what it's worth. But so this is pretty much set up how the real ship is. There's your bilge on this area here, and we'll go back on our staircase. All right, so let's go outside, and we'll go through some of the other cubbies and systems we haven't really talked about. We've pretty much talked about everything. So let's go around to the bow. Again, there's your bow door. You connect your cable the same way. You can connect it there and then fish it out. We go on this side here, we open up, we have these 2 containers with stored materials. If we go to the stern here, this is one of your manual firefighting stations. So if we go in here, let's quickly look at what we have. We have a fire extinguisher, we have a hose, we have a fire control panel, so we have a fire alarm. That's our speaker going. If we turn on our fire alarm, it will flash the light and our fire alarm will go off. Water pressure, as you can see, it's low to nothing because the pumps aren't on. That turns our water pumps on. There's a valve here. That valve is turned on when the guns are being used. So if we wanted to do some manual firefighting, we can take our hose, we can connect it here to our anchor attach point. We can turn our pumps, and then if we press B, as you can see, we have a nice powerful stream. You know, that's 100 meters out there to the barge, and as you can see, I'm not only hitting the barge, but I can hit the stern of the barge with manual firefighting equipment. Alright, so we got a nice long, so not only can we use the 2 guns, but we can also use these manual fire hoses as well. So we can store that back in there, and then we'll shut our pump off. You see the pressure went down. I need to index those to what the real pressure is. On the, of course, you should never walk by the cable in real life, but we don't care here. So this panel needs work, but so this is just mostly needs coloring here. But so that's your fuel oil. This is where you refill your diesel. So you would connect your hose to this, and it will refill your diesel tank, or tanks. There are actually 2 tanks. That will refill your diesel tanks. Here's your DEF refill. Currently, DEF system's not really hooked up, so if you needed to put in DEF is jet fuel, so you'd put jet fuel in here. That's your refueling panel. Underneath here, we have another firefighting panel, so same as the other one. Turn our alarm, and we can press our pressure, and as you can see, we can effectively fight fires with these hoses. Well, we're doing our turn here for our autopilot. So in real life, as you can see, the cable has to go through. Unfortunately, we don't have physicalized cables in Stormworks, but the cable would come through and around this steel post, and it would stay straight. I did add, let me shut the fire alarm off so I don't have to listen to it. And the pump, we'll actually put our hose away. You know, so you could simulate this by connecting your cable to here and then a cable out to there, but you know, in Stormworks, if the cable is stretchy, it will pull you and kill you. So I just don't even bother. It's you know, it kills me on an RP standpoint that, you know, the real cable would actually go underneath here and would go out. That would keep it around the deck line. And then this set is extra high. There's actually diagrams on the main product page where the cable would come wrap around this bollard here, so that you could do side pulling operations, and that would keep the cable from coming around and breaking anything or snapping. One thing that I didn't really mention, but as you notice when we turn, you notice how stable the tug stays. The stability system in this is pretty good. It's really effective at keeping this Azipod tug from listing or tipping over. You know, that's something that I'm really happy how that turned out. You know, if you do the Azipods full thrust at 90 degrees, you'll get a little bit of tilt, but it won't come out of the water or anything. It's a little bit goofy at full thrust, but you decrease the thrust, you're pretty good. Alright, so let's go back up onto the bridge here. Another detail here, we have the ASD tug 211 written out. IRL, it's right there, but of course we can't paint on wedge blocks. Alright, so looking in here, we just hit our first waypoint. We're actually going to hit our next waypoint in 900 meters. I'll end the video after that, but I just kind of want to show you the stability of how stable this is in a turn. So in, you know, once this gets, I think it's within 75 meters of the next waypoint, it will turn. So we'll just kind of wait that out for the 800 meters, and then I'll end the video there. Like I said, if we had no other waypoints, that would actually auto shut off the autopilot. So once the number here gets below 1, so once the number is 0, essentially, it will automatically zero the engines, and then you can just resume normal. So, you know, say for this competition, the competition's going to be, you want to go from here all the way up the river. I actually did this earlier. I set the autopilot, let the autopilot take me all the way there. Once it got here, it will automatically shut off, so you can actually walk away and go do something, and the autopilot will shut the engines off and you'll stop. One more detail here is I have twin anchors. I hate the way the magulls look, and I don't think you actually use them that often. I would have, if we had better looking anchors, the ability to make better looking anchors, I would have made these actual functional anchors, but it's difficult to hide the winches so they don't look ugly, so that the cables aren't interacting and, you know, hitting the ship. So I just have simulated anchors there. I think they look better like this, and you know, maybe I'll put a hidden anchor underneath that you can actually control and connect to something. So 500 more meters, and then we'll be good there. One thing I'll do real quick is I'll turn on night so you can see the lights. So as you see, we have our accurate navigation lights. If I can turn on my spots, and I can turn on my deck lights. So that's it all lit up, as you can see. And then we can go deck lights to red. Alright, so let's go back to day here so we can watch our turn a little bit more easily. Do I have red lights on? I do, so let's shut our deck lights off. Alright, so we are 300 meters away. Still doing that nice 8 knots. So I ran a test with the barge for the competition. The barge for the competition doesn't weigh very much compared to this. That I was getting a consistent 11 knots. So again, the real tug has a max speed of 10 knots. So, you know, to tow at 11 knots, I'm perfectly happy with that. That's very realistic. Depth under keel here is 50 meters. Just trying to kill some time until I want everybody to see that turn is coming. So essentially what I want everybody to see on this turn is, you know, when you put things like propellers on moving bodies, you'll get a lot of tilt usually on a ship, and then especially when you're towing something this heavy, you'll get a lot of listing. So when you'll notice when the autopilot makes a turn here, we get very little listing, very little turning. We get a little bit of list, which is realistic. Tug's going to turn, and as you can see, very stable. So it's nice. You can just leave this alone. Even towing, you know, this is an incredible weight. That's over a million kilograms easily. You know, I think it's 0.8 kilograms per liter of diesel IRL. You know, so we're talking with the weight of the barge, I think it's a little over a million pounds. So it's probably 500-something thousand kilograms. All right, so thank you for watching. Hopefully this will probably release in the 2nd. It's mostly done. As you see, I have a couple little this and that's to do, but that's about it. So I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you.